Well, hey everybody, Barry Climbing. Actually took a couple of days off from these things. I thought I actually had COVID the other day. I am dragging a little bit, tested negative. We'll probably test again tomorrow, but pardon me, took a couple of days off and was eager to get started. I was feeling like this was picking up momentum, and I really wanted to make sure I followed up, particularly after where we left off, which was this pledge to yourself. At the end of the day, really probably the most important thing, right? I mean, you pledging you to you, your own integrity. Nothing, nothing matters more, right? So I left here on the screen. I left you my integrity pledge. It was very brief, and I've thought about this in many many ways. I'll continue to work on it, but the things on the screen were mine. I've never was never early on good at being on time in my life, honestly, and I pledge to be better at it, and I like to think I am. Share the ball is a philosophy of mine that um, I continue to believe in deeply. I coach basketball that way, and I think that's the way life is best played. It's one of the reasons I'm doing this. Golden rule, of course, and do what I say I'll do. Your personal integrity, right? So I don't know if you wrote one. I hope you did. Um, I think I put it here. In many ways, it comes down to two things: do what you say you're going to do, and be on time. Be have integrity, right? So anyway, enough of that particular rant. I mean, not really, of course, but it's on you. I'm not going to sit here and badger because we need to move on. When we moved on here in the program, I promised you to try to have a little bit of fun, right? With all of this, it is important when you're trying to win the fifth quarter, when you're trying to transition from where you are to where you want to be. But I wanted to have a little bit of fun, and so I brought the nursery rhyme, the big bad wolf, into this. Um, it's an analogy for shit happens, right? So we talked about this uniqueness of you, believing in your uniqueness, right? We talked about operating in tiny habits. We talked about having integrity. Um, we talked about having a vision for yourself. We talked about having a why. We talked about non-negotiables. Pardon me, not building a house you don't want to live in. All of these things, right? Um, as it relates to integrity, you can't really expect other people to believe in you and believe you unless you believe in and believe yourself. This whole integrity thing, there is no partial trust, right? But let's say you've done all these things well. Let's say you've done all of the suggested exercises, pardon me, that we've talked about previously. Feel free to go back in the videos and look at them again. But regardless of how sharp your vision and how well you understand your why, and regardless of you understanding your non-negotiables, and regardless of where you are or where you're from or your grades in school or any of those things, and how well you handle this, the big bad wolf lurks. There are things that are always trying to find a way to get into your life, things that you don't want to happen. And as I put here, huffing and puffing all the way, all over your stuff. And it's really not a question of if, it's when, right? I mean, right now, we're living in a time where there's thousands of people stranded in airports. It's snowing like crazy in many parts of the country. Southwest Airlines has canceled literally thousands of flights. Nobody expected this. Big bad wolf. How do you handle these things? Um, and again, this is in some ways nothing. Obviously, people getting ill. Um, Gentleman named Franco Harris. I didn't really know him well, but I used to play basketball with him when I was at Penn State up at Rec Hall. Dropped dead a few days ago. Stuff happens. The idea really becomes What do you do, right? When the wolf appears at your door, how do you handle it? You have to really decide if, again, then you want to compete. Doesn't matter how much talent you have. Sometimes it doesn't matter your passion for things. It doesn't matter how well and sharp your vision is. It'll also come down to competing, right? And you have to judge yourself, right? So the point of this session here is I've talked about him, I know a bunch, but Stephen Covey goes back and he says in life there are three constants: change, choice, and principles. So back to the spirit of tiny, and again, just to get you ready and see how much you're willing to compete. This will blow up in any number of ways. I don't have a crystal ball. Once again, I can't predict the future, but Dr. Covey is very eloquent. There's three constants: change, choice, and principles. So, change happens. We get to make choices, and our principles are those defining moments that drive our choices. So I put here very simple. I wrote down from my point of view, constant change are things like seasons, tides, and aging. Someone very, very dear to me passed away just this morning. She lived an amazing life, 90 some years old. Change. It happens. So what I suggest everybody do is again, in your notebook, you decide if you want to compete, you decide if you want to write in a notebook, write down things that you think are changes that are constant. Changes that are constant. I wrote mine. You write them. And again, I'm going to move forward. I don't want to keep everybody here. Um, how would you respond? What choices would you make to respond to these changes? Again, what do you do when the big bad wolf comes to your life? Um, we used to have, I tell the story here, we had a German short hair pointer, amazing dog, amazing athlete, amazing spirit, crazy. She had no choice. UPS truck came, that muffler drove her nuts. Her nickname was Houdini. She would break out of the house, jump literally through sunroofs of cars to chase that UPS truck. No lie. She couldn't make a choice. She had no principles. She's a great dog, as gentle as you could be with kids. Not that UPS truck. So, but we have this opportunity, right, to make choices. And suppose you couldn't choose. Imagine how out of control your life would be. So again, get used to thinking about how you make the constants that come and how you deal with your choices. Um, there will always be people, as Mark Twain said, who try to belittle your ambitions, and small people do it all the time. I just wrote this about the person in my life who passed away this morning. She always tried to make us feel great about ourselves. Okay. Um, Try to surround yourself and find people, make choices for people, to be with people who lift you up, right? Distractions will happen all over the place, and big bad wolves will surface in any number of ways. So, okay, you get it. You're not going to let the wolf win, right? You're not going to do it. Those are your choices. So, and let's go probably to kind of a, pardon me again, foundational comment of all this, which is principles. So, if I how to do this, um, where do we go here? Change your opinions, keep to your principles. Change your leaves, keep intact your roots. So, though your roots are your principles, right? They're the things that drive you. They're your non-negotiables. If you know them, you won't get pulled off track by big bad wolves and distractions. You'll deal with them, but you'll deal with them in a way that represent who you are, what you're about, what you want to do, what you want to be. I would venture to say from personal experience that when you lose your principles, you lose your direction. Again, I keep referring back to the story about going broke. I really was it principle based? It was certainly choice based. And I guess maybe at the end of the day, principle based. I need to examine that. But, for me, and again, I'm trying to suggest that I'll give you my ideas of my own and then have you fill in your own blanks. So, my principles are loyalty. I've been married, I wrote this earlier, but I've been married to the same woman faithfully too for 43 years. Is that right? Yeah. Going on 44. Um, I'm a loyal friend. I'm a loyal teammate. I'm a loyal brother. It matters to me, right? I'm not bragging. It's just, one of my principles. I think it matters a lot. Honesty. As I say this all the time, the truth is a brand. The truth is a strategy. Um, a book, again, happy to give you away a copy of the book. My whole book is written about being honest with yourself. One more time, I think when I wasn't honest with myself, that I needed help, it caused a huge in my life, economically, spiritually, etc. It's something that matters to me. Doesn't have to you. Matters to me. Objectivity. Again, a principle of mine. I really like to try to believe that when I look at a situation, whatever it happens to be, I look at it as it is, not as I wish it should be. These are principles for me. In the box right there, right in your book, grab your notebook. What are some principles that drive your life, that drive your decisions, that drive your decision power, right? What are the things that keeping your roots intact? So those are examples of and how to contend with the big bad wolf, right? The wolf will come. Dr. Covey is warning us. Dr. Covey is giving us ideas about how to best operate when the wolf shows up. And I'll leave with this quote from Nipsey Hussle. He says, it sounds simple telling people to work hard and never quit, but to really execute and to demonstrate those principles takes discipline and faith. Those are the two factors that I believe separate the good from the great, the successes from the failures. We've all seen a lot of people highly talented who didn't optimize their talent. They didn't have the discipline to do so. The writing I'm suggesting you do, again, not for me, for you, by you, what do you want to happen, begins with this discipline. Um, if you haven't had it yet, go back and start, right? Um, right now, as I speak, we're coming on the end of the year. Don't wait for the end of the year, New Year's Day, to make resolutions. Do it now. Your time is now. Um, we'll talk about this gentleman, Keith Cunningham, coming up, but even smart people do dumb things. Really genius guy named Keith. Uh, we've all made mistakes, but now go back, start anew, change choice principles. The wolf will come. How we deal with him is going to really define how we move forward. I hope this helps everybody. I'm trying. I apologize for my voice being sore or hoarse, and hope this all makes sense and look forward to catching up with you moving forward. Thanks.